Hey everyone, this is Shepard from TeamworkCast.com, here to present a extremely comprehensive and thorough guide on the Gunlance for Monster Hunter Tri Ultimate for the Wii U and 3DS. The Gunlance is a returning weapon to the series, having been absent from Monster Hunter Tri but being in almost all of the series before then. The Gunlance is very similar to the Lance in terms of featuring a wide array of cutting attacks, abilities to evade after attacking, as well as the ability to block if being attacked by a monster. What separates it from the Lance, though, is its ability to use different explosive attacks, both shells, charged shots, and finally, wyvern fire. Learning to incorporate these attacks into your combos effectively will not only increase the normal damage you'll be doing, but add an extra layer of explosive damage to your attacks that cannot be matched by any other weapon in the game. So on to the attacks for the Gunlance. The most basic attack from the Gunlance is simply a forward thrust. This attack doesn't look very powerful, but when compared to the normal Lance, actually does quite a bit more damage, especially at the low level, but actually even more damage than a standard upper thrust that you would get from a normal Lance. Continuing to forward thrust, followed by an X, will lead to an overhead smash. Now you'll notice the overhead smash has an awful long wind-up time. The damage is considerable, but I typically do not lead directly into an overhead smash when comboing. Instead, what I like to do is by pressing the X and A buttons together, you'll do what's called a upward thrust. The upward thrust attack has a very long vertical range. Unlike the Lance, the Gunlance can now be used to cut very high tails in the air. However, the upward thrust cannot be comboed into itself. However, it can be comboed into another upward thrust. The manual actually repeats the name for the upward thrust twice, so it will call this the upward thrust, and an X followed right after will also be called an upward thrust. Whenever possible, though, you should use the X and A, X, X and A. The reason for that is this X and A attack does considerably more damage than just the standard upward thrust. When attacking from the sheathing position while moving, you'll also go into an upward thrust. You can follow this up very quickly with an XX attack, or 2 forward thrusts, followed by yet another upward thrust. The typical combo I'll do when I don't want to involve shelling is XX, XA, so forward, forward, upward thrust, and then I will move to an evade position to reset my attack and continue to combo forward. Guard thrusting in a combo like this doesn't really result in very much raw damage. Would only really recommend using this guard thrust volley right here if you had a considerable amount of either elemental or status effect that you would be using on the monster as well. However, as you can see, you do attack very, very quickly while doing so. I wanted to run a comparison between what my standard combo and a guard combo does. As you'll see, the results will show that the standard combo does edge out the guard combo in the numbers of total raw damage. As expected though, the guard combo does get out an extra 3 hits, resulting in either more elemental or status damage inflicted. However, neither of these combos have yet to take advantage of the Gunlance, in that neither is really involving the shelling. Next, I want to talk about blocking. Something that people may not know is that you can draw it instantly into a block. While moving, or not, or standing still, just press the X and A button while holding R. You'll immediately draw into a guard, and so if you're being attacked by a monster, this can prevent you from either having to endure a scream or a hit you might receive otherwise. The next component of the Gunlance, the signature component, is its ability to use both shells as well as wyvern fire. Pressing the A button will have a shot go off. Depending on the type of Gunlance you have, For the purposes of this specific tutorial, I'm using a long type Gunlance at shot level 4. You will do a certain amount of normal damage, it's considered explosive damage so it ignores armor, as well as a small amount of fire damage as well. Pressing the A button after firing will result in this really cool looking and dynamic quick reload attack. If you wanted, you could sit here and spam off shots and quick reloads over and over again. You get pushed back just a little bit, but do an okay amount of damage. After stabbing or firing, you can hold the R and A button and do what's called a charged shot attack. So that's a charge attack, charge attack, charge attack. The main difference between a normal shot and a charge shot is that charge shots get a 20% damage bonus. Spread shots have a special modifier of 45%. Charge shots also get a slight increase to the range of their attack as well. Following the overhead smash attack is the ability to do something called the burst fire attack. This attack unleashes all of your shots at the same time. In many cases, you can find that you'll be doing almost as much damage as a wyvern fire using this attack. Different Gunlance shot types have different modifiers for this attack though. Normal shots get a 10% boost, long shots get no modifier at all, and spread shots are reduced to 90%. What I'm posting now is a list of the different damages you would be getting for each shot, as well as the total amount of damage that you would be getting from doing a full burst fire of the Gunlance. The final component to the Gunlance that must be discussed is its signature move, the Wyvern Fire. By pressing X and A while blocking, or pressing X and A following an overhead smash, you will enter a small charging animation, followed by a large amount of raw damage, as well as fire damage as well. Something to note about the Wyvern Fire is that your character will get pushed back a considerable distance following the firing of it. You can utilize this pushback in order to avoid attacks that might otherwise hit you, if you have the forethought to push yourself away from the monster. The damage is again dependent on both the type of Gunlance, as well as the level of its shelling. One more thing to touch on about the Gunlance is your ability to reload it. Continuing to press the A, as said before, will lead to a quick reload after every shot. However, sometimes you want to have a full reload of all the shots because you've either used them all in a combo, or you've just done a full burst. This can be accomplished by evading and pressing the A attack, which leads to a full reload. Coincidentally, if you're blocking and press A, you will also do a full reload. Typically, you'll find that you'll have plenty of time to do a full reload after a combo. Let's talk a little bit about comboing and working shots into your combos. Like I said before, X, X, XA, evade is a sort of attack I will typically do when I want to preserve as much sharpness as possible. A common concern with the Gunlance is being able to maintain high levels of sharpness while still being able to maintain your ability to do shots and wyvern fire. Typically, I'll want to use the higher levels of my sharpness, in this case white, primarily on melee attacks, or non-shelling attacks. The reason for that is the damage modifier that you get from higher levels of sharpness affect these attacks, but do not affect your shells. Here's an example of the most standard combo that's existed since the Gunlance has been made. Because one of the most damaging attacks from the Gunlance is the standard forward thrust, we want to find ways to get as many hits out from this as possible. So simple XXA, XXA, XX, XA, followed by a full reload, going into this combo again can be one of the most damage effective attacks that you can do. A good combo, when given a very small opportunity for either a flinch or a stun for the Gunlance, is to combo into the full burst. X, X, XA followed by X will lead to a pretty damaging standard combo, followed by the opportunity to do a full burst. Likewise, X, X, XA, X can be led into a Wyvern Fire by just pressing XA after the shotgun slam, also allowing for us to combo downwards as well. As discussed in this tutorial, I've been using the long type for the Gunlance. This is the most versatile type, and in fact the type that I would recommend for almost every beginner of the Gunlance to use. The reasons for that is almost all the attacks that you'll be doing will enjoy the full benefits of the power of the Gunlance, and also have a much fire and Wyvern Fire as well. It includes 3 shots for your normal shelling attacks, which allows for more powerful attacks than normal shots, while still allowing plenty of shots for you to be able to combo in and out of when actively fighting a monster. The other types are normal and spread, which I will demonstrate now. Here's the Baron's Blazon. It's available after doing a event quest that's been available since the beginning of the game. It has fairly low attack damage, but a decent amount of green sharpness, good affinity, and a high shot level for its class in the game. It's a normal style Gunlance, which means you get 5 shots to use. This can lead to very long forward thrust combos. If a monster were to be paralyzed or trapped just now, that would have been an intense amount of damage. Likewise, you can use this Gunlance in order to do an incredible amount of damage from the full burst. Especially against monsters that are seriously weak to fire, this actually might be the best combo for you to use this weapon with. It's just comboing into full burst and then reloading. Of course, you'll have to reload quite often attacking like this, so make sure to include plenty of whetstones, and when possible, gem in, sharpening speed increase. Next up is the Gamefaqs, which is a wide or spread type Gunlance. As you can see, the number of shots this Gunlance has is only 2, which means that we need to use them wisely. Because we know that the damage from spread shots is increased when charged, we generally want to focus ourselves with this armor set to incorporate skills and abilities that take full advantage of the ability to do extra attacks or extra damage with charged shots. Including the skill Artillery Master or Artillery King will increase our damage of charged shots and all of our shots by 10 and 20% respectively. The final thing to note is the ability to use the moving forward thrust to engage enemies that have gotten farther away from us. Attacking with your weapon sheathed will actually give you an extra 2 steps movement in the forward direction in order to actually be able to hit a monster that's gone far away. So you can do this while your weapon's drawn or while the weapon's sheathed. In either case, it will give you much extra mobility that really the Gunlance needs in order to reach the monster you want to hit. As you can see, moving with the Gunlance out is a very slow endeavor. You can almost even move faster doing moving thrusts than you can moving around. Following this tutorial, I will lead with a series of tutorials explaining the normal, long, and spread type Gunlances against various monsters in this game. So stay tuned, good luck, and have a good hunt.